Here's an uncomfortable truth that nobody tells you when you're starting out. By the time most people figure out they're working for a bad company, they've already burned 2, 3, sometimes 5 years of their career inside it. And the wild part is that the warning signs were everywhere the whole time. They just didn't know what they were listening for. Because bad companies almost never announce themselves. They don't hand you a label on day one that says, proceed with caution. What they do instead is talk. They drop little phrases, throwaway lines in interviews and team meetings, words that sound completely harmless on the surface, but are actually flashing red lights once you learn how to decode them. So stick with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to teach you exactly how to hear the danger before it costs you. I'm Dre. And on this channel, I pull back the curtain on how the working world actually runs. Not the polished brochure version they sell you in the hiring process, but the real machinery underneath it. Today, I'm walking you through 9 things bad companies love to say to the people they employ and the people they're trying to hire. Learn these 9, and I promise you'll start hearing the truth hiding behind the pitch. And if breakdowns like this are useful to you, do me a quick favor right now and tap that subscribe button. It costs you nothing, and it tells me to keep making these. One quick note before we dig in. This is educational content, not legal or career advice tailored to your exact situation. And I want to be fair here. Not every company that uses one of these phrases is automatically toxic. Context matters, and there are exceptions to all of this. But when you start hearing several of these stacked on top of each other, that's when the pattern stops being a coincidence and starts telling you something real. So let's get into it. The first phrase to keep your ear out for is, we work hard, we play hard. On the surface, it sounds energetic, almost fun. But in my experience, when a company leans on that line, what they're really describing is a culture of brutally long hours and a level of stress that quietly eats people alive. The work hard part usually means unrealistic targets, a constant sense that whatever you did last quarter no longer counts, and a low simmering fear that runs underneath everything. And the play hard part is the trap most people miss. Those celebrations almost never happen during paid hours. They happen on a weeknight or a weekend. You're expected to show up and be visibly enthusiastic about it, and you're not getting compensated for a single minute of it. Most of us already have people at home we'd rather be with, and there's a subtle pressure baked in too, because the people who skip the after-hours stuff start getting quietly labeled as not team players, which is a polite way of saying they've painted a target on themselves. So when a company tells you they work hard and play hard, hear it for what it usually is, a demand for your time and your weekends dressed up as a culture perk. The second phrase is closely related, and it's when a company tells you, we're like a family here. I hear this most often from small, privately owned businesses, but I've watched massive corporations say it too with a straight face, and that one is almost comical. Here's the problem with it. You are not their family. Work is a place you go to trade your time and skill for money, and being reminded that this is your family is actually a backhanded reminder that you're sitting in an office instead of being with the people who actually are your family. Nobody at that company is going to love your life the way you do, and owners who expect employees to treat the business like blood are setting up something unhealthy, because in a real family, you don't get let go in a budget meeting. When the family framing gets intense enough, these places can start to feel a little cult-like, and if you don't share the enthusiasm, you become the outsider fast. Third one, watch out when a company tells you, we'll promote you later, we promise. Picture the interview. They want you to sign, so they dangle a promotion 6 months or a year down the road to close the deal. That is a massive red flag, because in most cases, one of 2 things is true. Either they don't have the budget to pay you what the role is worth right now, or they simply don't want to. So they hand you a promise instead of a number. And if that promise isn't in writing, it is worth almost nothing. Think about what happens if the manager who made that commitment leaves the company. Now you're depending on the goodwill of people who never made you any promise at all. And if you're already on the inside, getting told the promotion is just around the corner over and over while the finish line keeps sliding away from you, that's not a misunderstanding. That's the strategy. Good companies don't play games with your advancement. They pay you properly and they move you up when you've earned it. Number 4 hits harder than the rest, and it's when a company tells you flat out that you're replaceable. Some employers actually say this out loud to their people. They build a culture around it, strict rules, zero flexibility, and a constant unspoken threat that if you step out of line even slightly, you'll be reprimanded and swapped out without a second thought. I've seen entire workforces operate under that cloud, walking on eggshells every single shift. And here's what the company is really telling you when they say it. They're telling you they place no value on you as a human being, that you are an interchangeable part they can pull off the street anytime they please. Why would anyone with self-respect pour their best years into a place like that? When you accept that framing, you hand over all your leverage and you start living in fear. And fear is a terrible foundation for a career because it makes you play small. It stops you from negotiating and it keeps you loyal to a place that would never be loyal back. So flip it on them. If a company tells you you're replaceable, make yourself replaceable and go find an employer who actually understands what you're worth. The 5th phrase shows up constantly in startups, and it's, "We all wear a lot of hats around here." In the interview, that sounds scrappy and exciting. In reality, it usually means you're going to be doing the work of 2 or 3 different roles while getting paid for one, and the lowest version of that one. If that's a trade you genuinely want to make for the experience, fine, but go in with your eyes wide open. And let me take this one further, because there's a worse version of it. If a company is still calling itself a startup after 5, 6, 7 years, when it is very clearly not a startup anymore, that's a serious warning. They figured out that the startup label is a convenient excuse to keep stacking jobs on your plate and underpaying you for all of them. The hat metaphor is cute. The overwork it hides is not. Now stay with me, because the next few are the ones people quote back to me the most. And number 6 is when a company brags that they only hire rock stars, or A players, or the best of the best. You'll see this most in the job posting itself, where they get a little cute with the language. Here's my challenge to you. Anytime you see a posting like that, go straight to their reviews online and read what current and former employees actually say. It is incredibly easy to claim you want elite talent. It costs nothing to type. But if the company isn't willing to pay elite money or build the kind of environment elite people stay in, then that rock star language is just marketing. And usually, marketing covering for something rotten underneath. Number 7 travels right alongside that one. And it's when a company tells you, "We're always hiring." If a company is perpetually hiring, there is almost always a reason, and it's rarely a good one. Usually it means there's a revolving door, people pouring out the back as fast as they're brought in the front. Now, I'll be fair, there are real exceptions. Some companies are genuinely growing so fast they can't fill seats quickly enough. But if it's an established business that isn't exploding in growth and they're still always hiring for your exact position, treat that as a flashing signal that turnover is brutal. And do something with that information. In the interview, ask the hard questions. Ask how long the last person in this role stayed. Ask why the seat is open. Their answer and how comfortable they are giving it will tell you almost everything. Number 8 is a little more common in hourly roles, but it absolutely happens to salaried people too. And it's when a company lays you off and then promises to call you back when things turn around. There are employers out there who cut staff at the very first sign of trouble. And the cruel irony is that a lot of them are the same ones who swore up and down that they were a family. So they let you go, and on the way out, they tell you they'll bring you back when the storm passes. You have to ask yourself something honest here. Is that really the place you want to return to? It's the professional version of a bad relationship. The person who ends things, goes quiet, and then resurfaces the moment they need something from you. Have some self-respect. A company that already showed you they'll drop you the second it's convenient has told you exactly who they are. Believe them the first time. And practically speaking, that recall promise also keeps you in limbo, waiting by the phone instead of aggressively looking for something better, which is the worst possible thing you can do for your own momentum. And the ninth one I say half jokingly, but only half. It's when a company sells you on the fact that they've got a foosball table, or the kombucha tap, or the nap pods, or the catered lunch on Fridays. These perks get associated with hip, modern, employee-first companies. But I've worked in places with all the toys that were absolutely miserable to work for. A foosball table is lipstick on a pig. At the end of the day, it's still a pig. If they treat people poorly, if the environment is toxic, if the pay is low, none of the surface-level perks change the fundamentals. So don't let a shiny office distract you from how the company actually treats the human beings inside it. The perks are the easiest thing in the world to buy. Respect and fair pay are not. And those are what you should be measuring. So let me bring this all together, because here's what I really want you to walk away with. Any one of these phrases on its own might be nothing. People say things. But the moment you hear 2 or 3 of them stacked together in the same interview or the same team meeting, you are looking at a pattern. And patterns don't lie. We work hard, we play hard. We're a family. We'll promote you later. You're replaceable. We wear a lot of hats. We only hire rock stars. We're always hiring. We'll call you back. But hey, foosball. Each one is the company quietly telling you how little it intends to give you in return for everything you're about to pour in. Your job is to listen, to keep your eyes wide open, and to either avoid the situation entirely or start quietly building your exit before it costs you years you can't get back. The single most powerful move you have here is awareness, because once you can name the pattern, it loses its grip on you. You stop second-guessing yourself and start trusting what you're actually hearing. If you found this useful, the best thing you can do is hit subscribe so the next one lands in front of you. Because in my next video, I'm breaking down the warning signs of a bad manager, the specific behaviors that tell you your boss is going to make your life miserable, long before it ever shows up on paper. So make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in that one.